Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, cha, bonjour, namaste, jumbo. Bienvenidos. Hey, my name is Jed Lee. Welcome to Reading with Your Kids. We're coming to you from the beautiful, wonderful, historical neighborhood of Reedville, located in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so very happy and absolutely honored that you're joining us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. We do that by sharing fun, thoughtful, and thought-provoking conversations with fascinating people who just happen to be writing books for kids of all ages. You can join us in that mission by telling all of your family and friends about the show and letting them know they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network. And they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pod, Amazon Music, Podcast Addict, Audible, Castbox, Player FM, Boomplay, Ghana, wherever you find your favorite shows. Two wonderful guests for you today. Laura Lee Rittman will be here to celebrate her debut children's book. It's called Lucky Ruby. And Helen Rogoson will be joining us later in the show to celebrate Wolfie and the Magical Lint Ball. Hey parents and educators, are you looking for a fun way to help kids understand their feelings? Check out Felipe the Feeling Frog from the Caring Critter series, written by Zeba McKibben. In this engaging book, Felipe explores his neighborhood and learns that there are no bad feelings, just easy and hard ones that need the right strategies for self-regulation. Perfect for kids ages 4 to 7, Felipe the Feeling Frog teaches essential emotional regulation skills through captivating and relatable stories, as well as adorable illustrations by Denise Walker. Written by a dedicated kindergarten teacher, Felipe the Feeling Frog shows children that all feelings are okay, but it's how we manage them that matters. Felipe and his friends model different emotions and strategies, making it easy for kids to learn and apply these skills. Don't miss this valuable resource for social and emotional learning. And stay tuned for more from the Caring Critters series, including the upcoming Trixie the Thoughtful Turtle. Grab your copy of Felipe the Feeling Frog today and help your child navigate their emotions with a smile. Hey, my friends, we are really excited. Reading with Your Kids podcast is returning to the Chicago Toy and Game Fair November 9th and 10th at the Stevens Convention Center in Rosemont, Illinois. Let your imagination come to life at the Chicago Toy and Game Fair, the ultimate family play experience. Dive into hands-on fun with the hottest new toys and games, meet the inventors behind your favorite products, and even get a sneak peek at what will top holiday wish list this year. From interactive play zones to exciting competitions and exclusive giveaways, there's something for every member of the family at the Chicago Toy and Game Fair. And don't miss the Young Inventor Challenge, where kids showcase their creativity and innovation. Who knows, you just might meet the next big inventor. Join us at the Donald E. Stevens Convention Center in Rosemont, Illinois, November 9th and 10th. Whether you're a game enthusiast or just looking for a fun weekend with the family, the Chicago Toy and Game Fair has it all. And like I said, the Reading with Your Kids podcast will be there, and you may have a chance to be heard on the show. Get your tickets today and bring the magic of play to life. Visit shytag.com for details, and be sure to use the discount code READ, R-E-A-D, at checkout to save on tickets. Join us right now from the great state of Michigan. She is comfy in her log cabin in the woods. Our guest is here to celebrate Lucky Ruby. Please welcome to the show, Laura Lee Rittman. Hey, Laura Lee, how are you?
Good. How are you? I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
I'm delighted to have you here. I was not joking when I said that Laura Lee is in her log cabin. I'm getting to look in her home. There's a pair of snowshoes up over the fireplace, and it just looks great. Are those antlers over your head there? And
of course, they're antlers. Yes.
Antlers. What am I doing? Come on.
Yes, but I don't have a moose in the backyard or anything, but tons of deer and turkey and that kind of stuff.
That's wonderful. We have turkey here in Boston, but they're city turkeys, and they're actually really obnoxious and dangerous, and they attack people. They're not, they're not that, fun little thing that's
They're
just
not very friendly. Yeah.
they are not friendly at all. But I bet you fans are going to be really enjoying listening, reading a story about probably a very friendly girl, Lucky Ruby.
Yes. Yes.
Tell us all about her, please.
Well, Lucky Ruby is about a little girl who celebrates Christmas and Hanukkah. And she invites a classmate to come to her family party. And she hears her classmate on recess tell another friend, doesn't Ruby think that's not right? It's weird to celebrate both faiths. So Ruby is sad. And the short version is Violet comes to the party and realizes how lucky Ruby is to be able to celebrate both.
Yeah. I joke with my kids, because I grew up in a bicultural, bi-religious family. Oh. Yeah. My mom was Catholic, and half my dad's family was Episcopal. So a real big difference there. But back almost 100 years ago, it was considered a real big difference, and a lot of people had issues with it. So I certainly did not go through what Ruby probably went through, but it is interesting that so many people think, wow, you have different religions, you have different cultures. How in the world can you get along? How in the world could you love each other?
Right. And especially nowadays, wouldn't it be wonderful if we just would respect and learn about everyone's faiths and traditions, and it's not up to us to judge. Just the common thread is family and love. And that's what I'm trying to convey in the book.
Yeah. What inspired you to write this book?
Well, my daughter, I've been a stay-at-home mom for the last 17 years. And last year, my daughter went away to college, University of Michigan, go Blue. And I knew I was going to be depressed when she left, but I didn't know how blue I was really going to be. So she's my little sidekick. She's my everything. And so when she left, I was pretty darn blue. And my husband kept trying to help me and saying, why don't you do this? No. Well, what about this? I can't do that. I just had this total pity party. And my husband, Jay, said, you have always talked about writing a children's book. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I could do that. So fast forward, I did some research online, found a course online of children's literature, Kidlit, and I loved it. And it helped me craft the idea that I had. And fast forward, BiblioKid Publishing, and I got connected, and it went from there. And the book, I will say, is loosely based on my own life. Mm-hmm. I am Catholic, and my husband is Jewish, and we raised our daughter with both faiths. So, and we feel like it has very much enriched her life. And we're from a very small little town, and there is primarily white. My husband jokes that the Jewish population went up 100% when he moved in. And so when Ruby went away to college, I just felt like she was a bit more prepared too, because at a big university, there's all these different races, cultures, traditions, faiths, and she's been rolling with it and loved learning about everything.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I want to talk a little bit more about your book and about mixed families or bi-religious families, bicultural families. But I haven't mentioned it a whole lot here in the podcast, but that whole empty nest thing, it's
horrible. We need to be more prepared for this. Maybe I'll write a book about that.
Well, it really is true. We don't think about it. It's, our kids are just such a part of our lives. And we don't have, typically a ceremony about it. We get married. There's a wedding, a bar mitzvah, confirmation. There's a thing, and we look forward to it and we prepare for it. But, with so many families that we became empty nesters, because of COVID, official empty nesters because of COVID. My daughter's fiance was living in Vermont, and she was visiting him when the lockdown was going to happen. And she's like, I don't know what to do. And I said, you're a lot less likely to get it in Vermont than you are here in the city. So why don't you stay there? And then, and she liked it. And we were suddenly empty nesters. And
it's definitely a new phase. And I definitely felt like I lost my sense of my identity, my purpose, because Ruby was everything to me. And so with her leaving and then me coming into this, it has been so fulfilling, and I'm loving the ride, and I'm already wanting to work on a next book. I just love it. So
that's wonderful. That's
Thank you.
So important. When my beautiful wife retired a couple of years ago, she immediately just threw herself into art and learning about art, learning how to do watercolors and drawing. And she loves it. And she had a couple of colleagues that retired around the same time, and they're already back teaching part-time. And reach out to my wife and they say, don't you miss it? And my wife is like, not even a little. I'm fine in my art studio and doing my thing.
Yeah. You have to find your thing.
Yeah. So what kind of challenges did you face, raising a child in a mixed religious?
Well, we raised her interfaith is what we call it. And in just another little sidebar is Ruby, we adopted from China. So we're quite the little melting pot family already as it is, because we would celebrate some of the Chinese holidays too. So every month there was practically a holiday between all three cultures and traditions. So, and again, we're from a very small town. Very, very, besides Ruby being Asian, American, there was maybe one or two other children of a different race in her school. So, and like I said, all Christian. So, and I am happy to say she actually had no issues. We would come in during the holidays, my husband and I and his family, and teach the kids about, what the menorah is. And we would teach them a dreidel game and all of that. And the kids all had a great time. And Ruby, we just did a newspaper interview and they interviewed her also. And she said she never felt like, she kind of thought that's what everyone is, interfaith, until she went to school, because my husband and I, we've taught her, we have always respected each other's faiths. We've never felt one is more important than the other, nor do we ever try to convert the other. And so I think because we just always had that positiveness towards us, Ruby just felt very enriched with that. And we've always said, when you get old enough, you can make your own decision on what religion or faith you want to be. And she always says, well, I want to be interfaith. And we would always laugh. We're like, well, that's really not religion or tradition, but it's a lifestyle. So we personally haven't had that much of troubles, but when Ruby was little and I would try to find books on the subject, it did not exist. There was nothing to represent her. I found one, and it was not really what we do. Nowadays, I think it's much more common of like the Jewish people marrying outside of their faith and such. And I've had a lot of great responses from people who are interfaith couples feeling like they had to choose. And in our experience, you don't. And our daughter's pretty darn amazing.
Wonderful. We have had, and we have celebrated a book here on Reading with Your Kids called Latkes for Santa Claus. And
Great.
Also matzo balls for Easter or something like that.
Love it.
But yeah, it is much more accepted these days. It's much more happening. It's strange that people who call themselves and see themselves as being very religious and embracing so tightly this idea that this powerful being who created everything and is telling us to love each other, sometimes come with the biggest hate and the biggest, it's like, dude, are you really listening to what you're saying here?
I agree with you 100%. And that's why I feel we should just love each other and respect each other's. We don't have to be what someone else. It's great to learn about it. It's not up to us to judge. I've always said that. That's how I feel.
Mm-hmm. I had a conversation many, many years ago with a woman in our church, and my kids were very involved in the church when they were young, and they would be up on the altar helping with the mass. And this woman said, "Oh, you must be so proud of your kids." And I said, "Yeah, of course, they're great kids. Oh, but they're so faith filled, and they're in the church, and they're there." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's really cool." And she said, "My daughter is about to go off to college, and I'm so terrified because, college, that's when they start questioning their faith." And
Right.
I thought, that's really great.
Yeah.
We should question our faith. We
Right.
should. And if our faith isn't strong enough to stand up to the questioning, maybe it shouldn't be our faith.
Right. Right. It will either cement it for them, which will make their heart grow even more, or they'll find something that they just really connected and didn't even know it existed out there. But again, to me, it's all about your family, love. It doesn't have to be one or the other, in my opinion.
Yeah. We love that books can be mirrors, windows, and sliding glass doors. Obviously, Lucky Ruby would be a great book from a interfaith family.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think it'd be a very important book for all families to get a chance to take a peek into different religions and different cultures and how they are handled.
Well, I appreciate that. And it's funny that you said that, because when I took the online course, we would do book critiques on each other's work. And I remember wanting someone that was an interfaith couple. Well, everyone I kept getting paired up with were like elementary teachers and just nature, and they were all Christian. But all of them said, and it made me feel so good, they said, "I would read this to my elementary class. They should know that there's more out there than just what they're experiencing." And that's great to learn about it.
Yeah. Interesting. You said that the teachers would want to read this with their kids. One of the things that my wife ran into as a teacher was not so much the ban, like, obviously we don't want our public school teachers promoting one religion over the other, but my wife would get pushback if she even acknowledged
Really?
a religion. Even if she acknowledged all of the religions, there'd be pushback. No, you can't have a Christmas tree. No, you can't have a menorah.
Wow.
I even performed at a school in New Jersey where you weren't allowed to wear red and green together during the month of December because it's really Christmas colors, and you weren't allowed, and this was probably 20 years ago, you weren't allowed to wear blue and white together because it was connected. The Israeli flag was
Right.
blue and white. And I just think that's way crazy overboard.
It is. And it's a shame, because wouldn't it be cool if someone came in with their over-the-top Christmas sweater, someone had a Hanukkah sweater, someone had something about Buddhism, and you're just like, "Hey, tell me more about that," and just learn. It doesn't have to take away from your belief, but just learn. And I grew up in a very small town, not in the town that we live in, but it was all white and it was all Christian. And I never thought anything else. I thought the whole world was like that. And when I went away to college, that's when I met my husband. And on one of our first few dates, my mother, of course, always wanted to know, what's their major, what's their religion? Always the main thing. And so when we were on a date and I asked him, I said, "Oh, so, what religion are you?" And he said, "I'm Jewish." And I said, "Oh." And I literally remember looking out the car window the other way from him and thinking, I know that's different, but I don't know what it is. I didn't know anything about it. And so again, maybe that's why I was so open. I just loved learning about it and soaking it up. I went to some classes near the Detroit, Hamtramck type of area to when we were engaged to learn more about the faith just on my own. He wasn't even part of it. Part of his upbringing for the Jewish faith is they would go to different like churches just here and there to learn about the other faiths also. And so I think that's a great thing. Yeah. Again, it doesn't have to be, that's what you must do. You do what's true to you. I just think it's great to be so respectful and open. And again, with everything going on in the world with Israel and everything, it would be so wonderful if everyone would just feel that way, in my opinion.
You know, I've done a fair amount of studying, and I've studied world religions. And one of the things that, and one of the reasons I chose to do that is because the more I learned about different religions, the more I saw how much in common we share with these other religions. There's really not a whole lot of difference. Some people out there probably pulling their hair out going, no, of course there's a lot of difference. But when you get down to it, most religions are, I tell you that, you know, the golden rule, treat others the way you want to be treated. Love each other, love the creator. And I think that's just, such an important, lesson to teach our kids, and a beautiful lesson to teach our kids.
Yes, I agree. And I love hearing that you studied all those different religions and you still feel that way. I think that's great.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So you said that you're thinking you can't wait to start working on the next book. Is there an idea that is growing inside your head? I know it's, you know, Lucky Ruby is just being born here, but, have you put the fingers to the keyboard yet to start?
Well, I've kept a journal. Anytime an idea pops in my head, my book is set to launch in the fall, and because it's a very short, you know, marketing season, basically November, December, I'm not going to actually work on the writing until after the new year, but I do have some ideas. I don't know if I'll do faith one again or not. But I don't know if you've, you know, realized this or if I'm hurting your ears, but I have a very loud laugh, and my sisters are the same way. So I was thinking about doing something about everyone has a different laugh and kind of doing something fun off of that. Or my great nephew, I took him to the movies the other day, and it's fun to see how you're inspired. He started talking about the tooth fairy and how she drives a school bus. And I'm like, that's a great idea. So I'm like, tell me more about this tooth fairy. I was thinking I'm very much into fitness. I was thinking about doing something with like granny fitness with, you know, teaching her grandchild so I have a lot of different things going on, and I can't wait to start like trying it again. It has just brought me so much joy.
Well, I think all of those ideas would be a lot of fun, especially the tooth fairy driving the school bus.
I know. I love it.
She has to do something to earn all those quarters and dollars. Well, I guess they're dollars that are going underneath the pillow these days.
You know, you got to rest your wings, I guess. So,
where can people go to find out more about Lucky Ruby and find out more about you?
Well, I do have a Facebook and Instagram called Laura Rittman Books, LauraRit as in Tom, MAN Books. And you can also email me at laurarittmanbooks@gmail.com. My publisher is Bibliokid Publishing, so you can also get it from there, but it will be on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles. And I have a couple synagogues so far. They're putting in their gift shop. So I'm definitely going to hit the pavement and see if some like local places want it. But I think in the bigger cities where there's more of an interfaith population, I would love to have it in those bookstores or thing of that nature. So if anyone wants to contact me, I would love it. But it's not in print yet until the fall. So, but you can contact me to pre-order.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
We've had a great time speaking not only about Lucky Ruby, but about interfaith families and empty nests and a whole lot of other stuff with our guest, Laura Lee Rittman. Laura Lee, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it.
Are you looking for a creative way to bond with your kids? Let me tell you all about Drawing with Your Kids, the ultimate destination for artistic adventures. Join us as we dive into the wonderful world of children's books with renowned illustrators guiding you step by step. From beloved characters to whimsical scenes, unleash your imagination and create cherished memories together. Whether you're a seasoned artist or just picking up a pencil, there's something for everyone at Drawing with Your Kids. Please visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com, and click on the Drawing with Your Kids link at the top of the page and let the creativity flow. Drawing with Your Kids, where every stroke brings stories to life. Before we invite our guest into the studio, I would love to invite you to visit a very special website. It's clownswithoutborders.org. Clownswithoutborders.org. This is a group that I absolutely adore. I am part of Clowns Without Borders, and I had the honor of being part of the 2023 tour of El Salvador. I had so much fun joining with artists from all over the world to bring a smile to people who really needed it and really appreciated it too. And we would love for you to join us as a monthly Joy Maker. The Joy Makers, they're a family of people just like you who love to laugh and make other people feel good. So please take a moment and visit clownswithoutborders.org and consider joining me as a Joy Maker. Hey there, families! Are you looking for an exciting way to bond and learn together? Look no further than our STEM is Family Fun video series. Join us as we explore the fascinating world of STEM through hands-on activities right in your own home. Our series features lessons from experts at renowned institutions like the San Diego Children's Discovery Museum, the National Children's Museum in Washington, D.C., and Children's Museum Houston. From making homemade rainbow bridges to creating an oboe out of a straw, there's something for everyone in the family to enjoy. So grab your lab coats and get ready for an adventure. Go to readingwithyourkids.com and click on the STEM is Family Fun link at the top of the page and let the learning and laughter begin. STEM is Family Fun, where learning and bonding go hand in hand. Joining us right now from New York City, our guest is here today to celebrate Wolfie and the Magic Lint Ball. Please welcome to the show, Helen Rogoson. Hey, Helen, how are you?
Great. How are you, Jed?
I'm fantastic. Helen and I connected out at the Indie Author Summit in Kansas City. What a great event that was. Did you have a lot of fun out there, Helen?
I had a great time, and I made so many great connections with other fellow authors and learned so much in just those couple of days. So I'm looking forward to the next one and any of the events in between.
Yeah. You know, I've said here on the podcast, the Kidlit community of authors is incredibly supportive of each other, and it really is a community. And I know that is one reason that kept me working on this podcast, especially in the early years when I was struggling to get guests on and get people to listen to it. The friendships that I've made through this podcast with authors, it's been amazing. So I feel very blessed to be a part of that community in whatever little way I am.
And we thank you so much. I've spoken to other authors also who have been on your podcast, and we're so thankful that you have this as a bridge for parents and kids and the authors to connect and to just provide all of that guidance for parents that are looking for how to help their kids through literacy and all the other things associated with that.
Now, before we jump in and learn about Wolfie, you are a recently retired teacher, so thank you very much for that. How long did you teach?
I totaled it up to 27 plus years. Let's call it that.
All right. All right. My beautiful wife retired after 34.
Oh, great.
Yeah. And when her old school calls and said, "Hey, would you like to substitute today?" My wife says, "Absolutely not."
I echo that.
What were the biggest changes that you noticed as a teacher over the years?
I'm glad you asked that, Jed, because I've been thinking a lot on that even before the pandemic. Like people say, a lot of things have changed due to the effects of the pandemic and post-pandemic. Um, a lot of it is the kids they have a lot less of an attention span. And I noticed it specifically in 2019 with children that I was seeing, that they were so into the electronics and what's next and, let's slide to the next page type of thing, that it was more of an instant gratification than processing what was on the page. And it transferred into a lot of the occupational therapy stuff where you saw fine motor skills with kids decreasing because they mostly use their pointer finger and their thumbs. And they were not using their grasp when they were writing stories. And because of the short attention span, it was kind of depreciating their ability to write stories also. So I gave them a lot of input with my puppets and things that I did, both remotely to keep them engaged and in person. And, anything that was going on is like, just blame the puppet. But basically, they would be so engaged that it got them to listen to a story from beginning to end. Whereas without that engagement, I felt there was a large drop off in attention.
Wow. Interesting. We've heard folks talk about the lack in the shortened attention span a lot. You are the first person who brought up that dexterity and that kids, because they're only using their thumb and pointer finger, that they don't have the fine motor control that kids used to have. That's really interesting.
Yeah, it was pointed out to me. We had chess in the classroom, even from like pre-K on in our school. And over the years, I got to know the chess teacher pretty well. And he said they can't visually track the way they used to. And I said, And then I started to watch for those signs, like you hand them some Play-Doh or some clay, and what do they do with it? And a lot of times they really, really needed a lot of guidance. Whereas growing up, I was like, here's a lump of clay. I'm going to turn it into like a bear or something like that. And I felt like all of that was tied into that electronic age, which while we love the benefits of it, there's a downside too.
Boy, there sure is. The amount of kids suffering from anxiety, that just blows my mind.
Yeah. Looking towards, okay, are they going to like my TikTok video and all of that? And, the peer pressures are different now.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard to monitor. So, looking forward to doing a lot in terms of stories that I'm writing to kind of show them there's another way to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's talk about Wolfie and the Magic Lint Ball. What a great name for a character.
I have to thank my older brother for that, my brother Jack. It actually started when I was about 4, and my father brought home this little stuffed toy because I was a sickly little kid. And to entertain me through, like, bad weather and you can't go outside and play, my brother would come up with all these stories with me. And years later, I always said, well, that was my favorite toy, but why? Even pitching publishers when I started with the book, I asked that question. Have you ever thought about why your favorite toy was your favorite? And either the memories attached to it or what that allowed you to do, which is, a lot of dramatic play, a lot of use of the imagination, and taking ownership of the story, which, as they get older, kids can then say, hey, I can make my own version of this story and I can create my own stories, just like this author did. And I just took him on lots of adventures and I said, let me put it into print. So that's book 1. And then he goes dinosaur digging in book 2 based on my own experience. And book 3, he goes to an aquarium and discovers sea animals that are named after foods, which I had no idea was a real thing.
Uh, Neither did I. Any examples?
Yes, there is the pancake batfish, and there is the chocolate chip sea star. So Wolfie
Okay.
protects them, and it's kind of like, in a way, an environmental story, but in a way, it's also teaching them about a circle of life
Uh-huh.
and gets them engaged to think about things that are under the water, not just what you see at the beach.
Wow. Yeah, the ocean is, and we've had astronauts on the show and we've had oceanographers on the show. And it's kind of baffling to me to think that we know more about about outer space than we know about the ocean.
Yeah, that was a fun fact I learned recently in my last few years because I did an aerospace unit with my kids, and I told them that, and then they started to ask questions about what lives under the sea and how can we protect our oceans. So it led into a whole conversation with them where they kind of wanted to see what part could they play in helping the ocean.
Yeah. It's obvious that you you're very observant with your kids, and you picked up on things that certainly I haven't heard about in the past. How do you think, what is that with you? Are you just a curious person, or what, is that something that you went out and did intentionally?
Funny you should ask because when I think back to playtime with my big brother, probably the most prevalent thing that I was known for saying was "for why," which grammatically makes no sense, but he understood. I want to know the reason behind everything. So, that being said, growing up and having some really great teachers as a kid myself, shout out to all of them, they actually inspired me, and they said, well, why is it this way? And what would happen if it was that way? And made me think outside the box. And I think more kids need exposure to that kind of thinking, both at home and outside of home.
Yeah. Well, how would you suggest a parent that's listening to this, who doesn't consider themselves as an outside the box kind of thinker, encourage and support their kids in thinking more outside the box?
That's a great question. One thing I always suggested, especially when I had the little guys, was free play is so important. So not necessarily guiding the conversation when they're playing house or like when they're playing store, but just seeing where they go with it and then dropping questions, like open-ended questions, like, well, what would the character do next? Why would they do that? And just like leaving it to the child to make their own decisions rather than some sort of script,
Mm-hmm.
which, hopefully a lot of schools are moving away from, because you want imaginative play and you want the kids to be independent thinkers and problem solvers. And I think that's what I try most to do in my books, is to have kids think, well, if Wolfie did this, what would I do if I was Wolfie's friend? Or if I were Wolfie, what would I say in this moment? And just to give them that opportunity to think and process rather than just come back with answers that are like one word answers or yes or no.
Yeah.
And it just helps them grow and express themselves.
As you're talking about that and talking about the importance of free play, especially with our younger kids, one of the things that disturbs me or concerns me, we just had a wonderful kindergarten teacher on talking about her Caring Critter series, and she was telling me that kindergarten has become first grade.
Yeah, the term that struck me was the year we were told to get them college ready at 4 years old. And it was quite disheartening to me because to me, it was more important for them to turn around and say, hi, can I borrow the red crayon? And have a communication with another child and with an adult and with a group of classmates, and to learn how it is to be in society and, let them just explore and then tell you what they think. And then you can like set them up for all of the standardized tests and stuff that we know are coming. And as much as they say, oh, we're doing away with them, hopefully, you know, at some point, there are other ways to measure, and it's happening across the country. There are other ways to measure how people are progressing academically and how they think.
Yeah. You know, on the one hand, you can understand we've had Malcolm Mitchell, who was on the Super Bowl, the New England Patriots Super Bowl champion team, and he told a story of arriving at campus as a freshman in college, and being in a class and realizing that he couldn't read. And so on the one hand, you hear stories like that, and it's like, well, how did this kid get past? Well, obviously he was a superstar on the field, so we want him to play. So I understand people saying, oh, we need to make sure that doesn't happen. That's a sin to a kid like Malcolm. It's really a disservice to him. But on the other hand, you know, when I hear teachers say, I got to teach to the test, it's like, no, you got to teach to the kid.
That's another reason I love teaching the younger grades, because that really didn't come into play as much. I mean, it did, especially in recent years. They wanted to make sure there wasn't that summer slide and the pandemic slide and any other slides they could think of. But basically, my goal was to get them to the point where I hear from kids who are now 20 years old, getting ready to finish college, and the one thing that they'll say is, I still remember when you would do Dinosaur Dig Week, and I have my fossils.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And it just like, it warms your heart, because you're thinking all along, okay, I'm doing this, but what impact am I having? You know, I know how they're doing all through like maybe elementary school, and past that, maybe you'll hear from them. But often you lose touch. But through the miracles of social media, you can stay in touch, and you can see them progress and all the college that they go off to and their personal accomplishments. So that's wonderful to hear, especially when they tell you, you know, I'm in a specialized program in science, or I just had a museum gallery showing of my art. And you know that you had some part in that, especially when they say, you know, it was because you told me this, that, or the other.
That's wonderful. Tell me, because I don't know if you obviously didn't do this because you remained a teacher, but when that person said to you, you got to get 4-year-olds college ready, how did you not turn to that person and say, did you suffer some sort of brain injury on your way in here this morning?
Well, to be professional about it, but yet to get the message across, I actually did a lot of research on my own. American Pediatrics Association, a lot of different stuff, and brought in tons and tons of literature and evidence that said kids need to play. And you know what? They actually turned around after a day of deep thought and said, all right, let's do a compromise. They can free play this many hours, but I would like them to do this as well. And, you know, so there comes into play, you have to be able to compromise and say, I understand there are some expectations that are somewhat unreasonable, but at the same time, they also have to see the importance of, you know, pretend play and what it means to have another child interact with them and not just complete, you know, tasks towards a goal, because it's just, in order for them to develop appropriately, they need that time to explore, and they need that time to like create. That's the biggest thing.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense that we need to, before we turn a kid into a college student, we have to let him be a kid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah. How does it feel now that you spent almost 3 decades teaching kids one-on-one, developing those relationships, and obviously you experience a great deal of satisfaction doing that. Are you able to kind of comprehend that now you're doing it on a much bigger stage for a much bigger classroom through your books?
It's slowly sinking in. Because at first, years and years ago, I had 3 books that I copyrighted, and one was graded by a professor, and they said, I'm not going to write on this because I'd like you to publish this someday. And the someday became a thing, and it stayed where it sat for years. And I said, someday is going to be the day after I retire. So that someday actually came quicker than that, because everybody said, start your own web page. And then when you have a web page and people can find you, then you can like download all your books and things. So looking back, I didn't really know that extent that it would have in terms of, okay, how many kids are actually going to see this, and how many teachers may use this in their classroom and modify it for kids with special needs, for kids that are exceptional academically, and, deciding on how to use the materials that started out as a simple story that was part of my childhood. So yeah, it's slowly starting to sink in.
Tell me, as a teacher, and you said that you taught little ones, so I assume you also taught some older kids.
Yeah.
As a teacher, when at the start of the school year, can you get a sense in sort of like the first few days or weeks, oh yeah, that kid's parent reads to him every night?
Oh, definitely.
It's that obvious.
Oh, definitely. And they will often, and one key thing is they'll often have their favorite book in their backpack, even though they're not required to bring anything back and forth, other than once we get into the school year, they're given a little book baggie of some sort, and they choose books that on various levels and various interests. But you could see what they love, what they're into, what they probably do when they're not, at school. And they'll talk to you about it constantly, which is great. But yeah, you can definitely see who's read to, the way they read back to you, and their use of a narrator's voice and changing the voice of the characters. Even before we've taught it, you could tell they learned that somewhere.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming that those kids that come in, that it's obvious that they're being read to, and they know how to read back a story themselves, even if they're not reading, if they're just memorizing it. That it sounds like those kids, there's a lot of benefits, and they get a real head start on the other kids.
They definitely do. And they're usually the high flyers right away. And other kids usually look up to them and say, they'll even vocalize at the age of 4 and 5, well, you read better than me. And probably the funniest thing that just came to mind was I had a child who in kindergarten was like flapping around on the floor saying, I can't read. And I said, okay, you read a little, I read a little. And we made it a partnership. And one of the parents actually also was saying, how do I read with them? And I just modeled it right then and there with them. The first child actually just published a book before I did at 18 years old.
Oh, that's fantastic. That must make you very, very happy.
Yeah, she came with it. She signed it for me. It was amazing.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, congratulations to her. Congratulations to you. What type of book did she write?
She wrote about the first African-American female composer in the United States. And she actually collaborated with her schoolmates on the book. She did the art and the the captions, and they actually filled in the blanks on the rest of the person's biography. So she did something that other kids can now actually read and replicate in their own nonfiction studies. So that was pretty amazing, actually.
Well, if you're in touch with her, tell her she's welcome to come on Reading with Your Kids and celebrate.
Oh, I will definitely tell her that. That will put her over the moon. She comes back periodically to visit, so now we stay in touch.
That's really fantastic. I look forward to hearing from her, and I look forward to telling everybody out there where they can find out more about Wolfie and the Magic Lint Ball in your other books.
Thank you. Well, my main site is www.unpackyourownhappy.com. and that's my personal website. And then for the books themselves, they're available right now on okiebees.com. And people can visit there now, and there's a great offer for free shipping and a free book in addition to my book, if they would like to take that up. Jay Maletsky, who runs the summits for writers, he actually is running the Okie Bees, and he's having a campaign now for most sales of a new book. So that would be great if people will log on and check it out. And I've had a lot of support from fellow teachers that are now retirees. We call ourselves the Monthly Lunchly Group from PS 198 in Brooklyn.
Oh, that's cool.
And we get together every first of the month, especially the first week of school. So that was a nice feeling. And a big shout out to family, friends, my loving and devoted husband, who's put up with me painting for 15 hours straight to get the books to the finish line. Basically all of the teachers and families from PS 110 in Manhattan, and all the families I've had along the way, like they've really been main supporters of this new chapter, so to speak.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. We've had a great time speaking to the author of Wolfie and the Magic Lint Ball. Our guest has been Helen Rogoson. Helen, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Jed.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Reading with Your Kids, and we hope you'll join us for the next exciting episode of the show. We'd also love it if you would consider leaving a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. It really helps us recruit new members of our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. Please connect with us on social media, facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, @readingwithyourkids on Instagram, @JedlyMagic on Twitter. Great YouTube channel for you to check out, youtube.com/readingwithyourkids. We'd also love for you to visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com. You can check out our blog, visit our Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read Wall of Fame, and use the contact button up at the top of the page. Send us a message. Let us know what you love about the show, what we could be doing better, and who you would like to hear on a future episode of the show. That's really helpful. And if you're an author, please be sure to click the Authors Click Here button at the top of the page to find out how you can be a guest. Being a guest, it's fun, it's easy, and it gives you the chance to tell thousands of Kidlit fans all around the world about your amazing children's book. You can also learn about our effective and very affordable promotional services. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful, starting with our guest, Laura Lee Rittman. Please be sure to check out Lucky Ruby. And Helen Rogoson. Please be sure to check out Wolfie and the Magic Lint Ball. I want to thank my team, Fatima Khan, Chris Doherty, Rory Grady, Rayling Tang. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all of her support. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you for taking the time to join us today, and as always, thank you for taking the time to make the world a better place. You do that every time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.